Alright guys, in this video we're going to give you the Skinny Fat Blueprint solution. Basically how to get incredible results if you're currently in a quote-unquote skinny fat position. So in this video we're going to take you through how to set up your calories and your macros, how to train effectively. There'll be a couple of different ways, but I'll supply you with a program in here as well. How to use cardio and or steps to increase your fat loss results and just get faster fat loss. And then also how to adjust the program based on your results, which is also really important to know. Now, down below in the description and or comments, there will be a link, which will be currently at the time of making this video, will be 4 weeks of free online coaching. So everything we go through today is going to be condensed down into a short email course and give you the basics of what it's like to work with me as a one-to-one client online. Now, why should you listen to me? Because I have been doing this for 15 years. So these are just a couple of clients that I've trained in the past. And this was me. So I used to be a really overweight kid. I got quite skinny, skinny fat, I suppose you could say. And then I built a bit of muscle and got really lean. All right. So I know what it's like to be under 10% body fat. I've done it in the past. I'm not currently there right now, but run our way back down. But I have done this many times for multiple clients in the past as well. So before we get into the main part of the program, we need to get an idea of roughly where you are. So skinny fat, to be honest, is usually going to be sitting somewhere around that 15 to 20% body fat. So you're going to be somewhere in between these two ranges. You could be a bit closer to 25. Skinny fat usually just refers to people who are not really weight trained in the gym consistently. So you might have even yet less than a year's worth of experience. Arguably, you could even be training in the gym for a while, but not training optimally or anywhere near close to failure, right? So just the intensity hasn't been the best. But you just don't have that much muscle compared to where you could potentially get to, and you're probably carrying a bit more fat than you need. So in terms of the healthy body fat ranges, so ideally we want men to be at 20% at the maximum. We really don't want you above that. And then for that really lean look, which is probably what most people are trying to achieve, you're probably looking at closer to about 10 to 12% body fat, okay? So you're probably going to be somewhere around 15, 20 to 25%. So let's get stuck straight into your calories. So we're going to use a typical male 30, could be higher, could be lower age than this, that's perfectly fine. About 180 centimeters tall, so just shy of 6 foot, so again, taking the average. Current weight's about 67-ish kilos. Could be a bit more or less than this, but we're just giving you an idea. Now, we do have an activity modifier per week, which I'm going to leave it at 4 to 5, which I'll explain in a moment. Now, within my program, I have a very specific measurement, which is your healthy waist target. So, depending on how tall you are, you don't want your waist circumference any larger than 50% of your height. So project one, if you just priority one, if your waist circumference is larger than 50% of your height, you should be 100% fat loss. Now, the game does change a little bit as you get lower, and you can go into more of a recomp phase, but I would argue for most people, just get lean once. Just do the hard work, get really lean, even if you end up lighter than you expected or you're feeling flatter than you would like, and you just kind of have a skinnier look. It is much more fun to slow bulk than it is to kind of hover around, not quite near abs, but kind of okay and kind of sitting around that 15-ish to maybe 17% body fat. Just get lean once, just do it once, right? And then really, really slowly increase your calories over time, which we'll talk about later in the video. So based on this person's height, so 76 kilos, for them to get around 10% body fat, they're probably looking to drop down to about 68 kilos, given the fact that they're about 20-ish% body fat, give or take a little bit. Now, the recommended protein, I like to base your recommended target protein off your potential lightest body weight. So potentially you're going to be weighing 68 kilos. So this is going to be 1.8 grams times your goal body weight. You could use other metrics like 2.3 grams per kilogram of lean body mass. That'll probably give you a bit more. Arguably at the end of your fat loss phase, I probably even recommend bumping up a bit higher to maybe like 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. But the amount of fat that you lose between now and the end of the diet, that fat doesn't necessarily use protein. So in my personal opinion, it's not necessarily based in evidence, but this is how I like to do it. Your minimum protein target should be based on 1.8 grams times your goal weight. And then should you want to eat more than that, go for it. Great, just more protein. Once you're on sort of maintenance-ish calories, you can increase your protein to like 2 grams per kilogram. Now, basic stats for this person is 1,740 calories BMR. So just to lay in bed, do nothing at all. And then maintenance calories. So this maintenance calories is going to be based on the fact that this person's doing 3 days a week weight training, full body training sessions, and they get 10,000 steps every day. Nothing more, nothing less, no cardio, nothing like that, all right? We're starting off with a 30% deficit. 30% deficit is aggressive. It's not aggressive. An aggressive deficit is eating like over 1,000 calories below your maintenance calories. 30% is very doable for most people. You can eat a lot of food for 1,780 calories. 122 protein. Fats, you're probably going to want around 20% of your total daily calories, give or take a little bit. I don't really recommend clients track fat because most clients usually get enough fat anyway. And then once you've got your protein and minimum fat sorted, which you'll usually get once you plug your protein in, you fill the rest with carbohydrates. If you're not going on a low carb diet, you probably want to be at least 150 grams a day, ideally. But in some circumstances, depending on how much you adapt in terms of metabolism, you may need to go a bit lower than this, right? So this would be a starting calorie setup for this hypothetical person. So 1,780 calories, 122 protein, 40 fat, 234 carbs. Now, 30% deficit, don't go above this, but you can go below, provided you still get your protein target. Right? If you want just slightly more aggressive fat loss, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. You're in a position where you have enough body fat, you can go lower, but do not go higher. Right? This is the hard cap. For the most part, I would say don't even worry about if you have lower days or higher days. Once you hit 1,780, that's it. Shop is closed. Go to sleep. Go to bed. Generally speaking, with your food, you can eat whatever you want. You can eat whenever you want. I would obviously recommend a whole food diet. It makes sense, right? Meats, veggies, and fruits most of the time. And I would stick to a meal schedule that suits you. Now, being perfect, being optimal can be slightly beneficial, right? So if you're training in the morning, it's probably worth having something to eat just before your training session. However, if you have to train fasted or you feel better training fasted, at least during your fat loss phase, just train fasted. You'll be okay. We're not trying to be competitive bodybuilders on stage. We just want to look good in everyday life. Go down to the beach, take your top off, look pretty good, look like you're in decent shape, right? So I would generally recommend most people start with 3 meals and a snack. That snack can be anywhere throughout the day, but breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a snack. You probably want to spread your protein somewhat equally throughout those 3 meals, and that snack can be just whatever you need to fill up the remainder of your calories with. So it could be a protein snack, could be a carb snack, could be a bit of both. If you prefer, my preferred style is eating more 2 meals than a snack, so I tend to fast in the morning. I have my coffee in the morning with some sugar, but I'll have a large lunch, a bigger dinner, and then more of a nighttime snack. And that's just my personal preference. It's just how I like to diet, right? If I'm on low calories. Now, based on this person's height, they need to get to a 90 centimeter waist to be at 20% body fat, and they would need to drop down to 80 to get down to 10% or 10 to 12% body fat. So once you know what your waist target is at 50% of your height, that's your recommended healthy waist target at your navel belly button waist, you need to drop another 10 more centimeters past that to get to abs length. All right, so just know that that is something that's going to happen. You will have to achieve this at the minimum, sometimes more. Now, on with the training. For most people, if you haven't been training, or at least if your training's been really erratic, one of the greatest default programs to move over to is just going to be a full body training session 3 times a week, even right up until the intermediate phases. So what this is going to look like is this. Full body session, everything in session A would be done in a single session. Everything in session B would be done in a single session. I prefer to alternate between exercises if you can. So that means you would do a Smith machine bench press, and then you would have a break. Then you do your leg press, have a break. So see how it says A1, A2. You would do Smith machine, leg press, Smith machine, leg press, Smith machine, leg press. If you can't alternate, that is okay. Just work your way from the top down whenever possible. If you walked into the gym and the Smith machine was busy, so you just start with leg press, do your 3 sets. If the Smith machine then becomes free, go back and do Smith machine. So you're always trying to reset and work your way back to the top all the way down. A perfect world, if you go to a gym that's not busy and you can alternate, great, go for it. General rest times between exercises, you're probably taking at least a 2-minute break if you're alternating, 3-minute break if you're not alternating, and if you're doing more of these higher rep, smaller compound or isolation movements, you can probably rest somewhere between like a minute and a half, potentially even like a minute if you're working in like the higher rep ranges. So the heavier the set, the longer the rest, about 3 minutes. If you're working in like the 8 to 12-ish rep range, maybe about a 2-minute break. And if you're working around the 12 to 15 rep range, maybe a minute and a half break. Preference is to alternate between upper and lower. So that way, whilst upper body's resting, you can train lower. That's how I would like to do it. And then you obviously want to pick a weight that you can manage between the rep range. So for example, 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, so on, right? Now, you're going to be doing 3 sets of pretty much everything. So that's going to get you 9 sets per body part per week. And then you've got the option of doing between 2 to 3 sets for arms. Some people just need 2 sets and that's plenty. Some people would like to train more arms and they can add that in. If you want to add in any additional ab work, go for it. Planks, crunches, leg raises, side planks, whatever you enjoy, you can always add it onto the end of the session. How do you track your weights and reps? How do you progress? All right, really, really simple. You write down the weight you used. Let's say it's 80 kilos times. How many repetitions did you get? Let's say you got 8 on the first set, then you got 7 on the second, and then you got 6 on the third. How do you know if you need to increase the reps or the weight on subsequent sessions? So this would be a Monday session, this would be a Wednesday, this would be a Friday. So you log Friday's session here. If your target was 8 repetitions, and on the first set you got 8 repetitions, next session the weight goes up by the minimal amount possible, so 82.5, and you start the ladder again. So this time you got maybe 7, then you got 6 and 5, right? Perfect. Now this time, because you only got 7 on the first set and the target was 8, next session the weight stays the same until you can get 8. When you can get 8, next session the weight goes up, and you repeat that process indefinitely. So as long as you're making progress in either reps or weight over time, amazing. The more advanced you get, the further those progressions are going to be. But if you're just starting back up at the gym, or if you're new into this, you should be getting stronger on most exercises most weeks, at least for compounds, and then it will start to slow down probably in the first 3 to 6 months, and then after that it'll probably slow down even further and further and further. Do not keep changing exercises. Pick a program and stick to it for at least 6 months and just see it out and really get strong on those movements. Obviously you can swap things like for like. So if you don't have a preacher curl, you could do a seated dumbbell curl. You could do a incline curl. You could do a machine preacher curl. Any bicep curl is going to be fine. If you don't have a seated hamstring curl, you can do a laying hamstring curl. If you don't have a machine shoulder press, you can do a dumbbell shoulder press. Any shoulder press movement will be fine. Any leg press movement will be fine. You can swap leg press for hack squats, right, for example. Like for like is perfectly fine to swap out. But don't change it for change's sake. Only change it if you're no longer progressing on the exercise and or you just hate that exercise or it causes injuries. So some people, for example, I don't program split squats in my programs very much because people despise them and they hate doing them and they just regret going to the gym and they're like, Shannon, I'm not going to go because I don't want to do it. So we do things that you also enjoy for the most part. Now, when you're tracking your progress, so we want to see visible changes. I would recommend doing front, back, and side photos every single week. You will want to weigh yourself daily and take a weekly average. And you will also want to measure your waist, more specifically your belly button waist, but I do recommend for men the small waist and the belly button waist. If you are losing on the scale, keep doing what you're doing. If your waist goes down, keep doing what you're doing. If only one changes, meaning there is no scale weight loss, but you hit a new low measurement, and or your measurement didn't go down, but you hit a new low body weight, keep going as you are. Do not change anything, all right? I would do this, stick to the calories for at least 4 weeks before you change anything. Even if you're not making any progress, just stick to these calories. Make sure you're tracking accurately with a kitchen scale. You are weighing, tracking, measuring your food, using an app like Macros First, which is what I use. I'll see if I can leave a link in the description below for you. That's the one that all my clients use. And do it for 4 weeks. Now, if after the 4 weeks, you're no longer achieving these targets, getting a new low waist drop or a new low weight, you have two options, two primary options with the option of a third, which I'll explain. So you either A, decrease calories by 10%, B, increase steps by 2,000, so from 10 to 12,000 a day, or C, which is always the last option, you can add in dedicated cardio. And if you're going to add in cardio, obviously it's going to take you extra time throughout the week, just extra effort. But you would do cardio post-session, putting it on the back of a training day. So if you're doing 3 sessions a week, you'd be doing 3 cardio sessions a week. I would start with 20 minutes per session on non-impact. So no running. Any machine that you enjoy, it could be incline treadmill walk, it could be stair stepper, anything, right? Anything that's just basically not running that gets your heart rate up. You generally keep your heart rate between 120 and 130. But honestly, I wouldn't use cardio until I absolutely had to, because it has such a poor calorie burn for time spent and recovery. So I would always rather reduce calories priority, then look to possibly increase steps. And if that's still not getting the needle moving forward, you may then want to add in cardio. And that's only if you feasibly can't take calories any lower. I would usually always rather take calories lower because it's the easiest, lowest hanging fruit. And you repeat that for indefinite until you get down to abs lean. All right. Once you are abs lean and you have gotten down to your bottom healthy waist target, so that was 10 centimeters below your healthy waist target. So once you're at the bottom and you've gotten all the way down, you want to get back to maintenance basically as fast as you can. All right. I would usually recommend, and this is how I like to do it with clients, there's a couple of different ways. If you want to exit the diet more slowly, you can add in about 200 calories per week until you're back at your maintenance calories. Do you need to do it that way? No, you don't have to. You could literally go back to basically maintenance overnight, but a lot of people deal with things like bloating, water retention, etc. So depending on your calorie drop, I would at least add back in 500 calories literally the next day. So you woke up on Sunday, that's it, Shannon, I look incredible. Thank you for your free program. I want to get back to my maintenance calories. So you're already in the 30% deficit. You'll need to recalculate your maintenance, by the way. Your new maintenance will be less than what it was previously. Whatever your new maintenance is, you're probably going to be eating at least 100 to 200 calories below that just to start off with. So whatever your calories ended up as, you're probably going to add at least 500 calories back in, and you'll probably end up somewhere between 100 to 300 calories away from your maintenance. And then from there, every week, if your weight stabilizes, you increase calories by 100. If your weight stabilizes again, you might get a small bump, but if it stabilizes and doesn't go up for another week, you increase calories again, all the way up until your predicted maintenance. If you find that your body weight starts to trend up, don't increase calories anymore. All right? If your weight decreases, double the amount of calories. So if your weight's still going down after a week, go up 200 calories because you're still in deficit, right? So it doesn't have to be overly complicated with a reverse diet. People charge literally hundreds, thousands of dollars and draw out reverse diets for like 50 weeks of the year, when it's just a matter of just get back to maintenance calories and enjoy the free gains for the next 6 months. Now, when you go, after you finish this part and you want to potentially go into like a quote unquote bulking phase or a lean gain phase, this is how I would typically do it and recommend that you do it. And this is appetite based. If you are the kind of person who has a high appetite, meaning you get fat very easily, you do not need to bulk. You will, by your default mode is bulking, right? You are probably going to have a hard time just trying to stay lean and just trying to focus on your calories and just get enough calories to not get fat. If you don't have much of an appetite and you're a hard gainer, right? Food just doesn't interest you at all. You're probably going to need to try and aim for a small surplus because your default method is just not to eat that much food, okay? And this is how I like to personalize it for clients. So if you feel like it's really hard for you to gain weight, you probably need to be in a surplus. If it's really easy for you to gain weight, you probably need to be really just on borderline maintenance calories. And by default, you're probably going to have a little bit more overtime anyway. Now, you don't need to necessarily force feed yourself above maintenance calories to really gain a lot of weight. Muscle building is a really slow process. The most important thing is your strength going up over time, despite your weight and or measurements changing. So if they're exactly the same, but your strength is going up, keep doing what you're doing. You get to live the lean life whilst strength is going up. If strength is going up past the first 4 weeks of a program, you can probably bet your bottom dollar most of that's going to be actual muscle tissue, sometimes even 8 weeks after the program. How long will all of this take? You can get really lean within about 3 months, potentially 6 months at the longest. So this fat loss phase should probably take you no more than about 3 to 6 months. And then the gaining phase, you want to drag this on, honestly, for as long as you can. At the absolute fastest, I wouldn't want you to gain any more than 1% of your body weight per week. That's the fastest possible weight gain. Common questions I usually get is, when I'm losing weight, am I losing muscle? If you're getting enough protein and your strength is still going up over time and you haven't lost strength except for specific movements such as pressing, like chest pressing movements, pardon me, and also squatting movements, apart from those two, if everything else is the same and or going up, you have not lost muscle. Apart from chest pressing and squatting, sometimes deadlifting, if everything else is still going up or the same, you have not lost muscle if you're in a deficit. If you are at maintenance calories and your strength is no longer progressing, at least on a monthly basis, you are no longer gaining muscle, which means something needs to change. And that is the quick and dirty of how to get really good results. Now, I want to give you a very quick summary again. So just to recap for you. So we set up your calories. It's going to be a 30% deficit. You want to hit your protein target. Train 3 days a week, get 10,000 steps a day. Cardio is optional. Steps when you adjust your program if you hit a plateau, and my version of a plateau is probably 2 weeks of no progress. But if you hit 2 weeks of no progress at all past the first 4 weeks, then you adjust your calories. Either eat less, do more, or potentially add in cardio after your training. With your training, my preference is going to be a full body training session 3 days a week. If you want, you can do a 4-day program, like an upper lower split, or something like a push pull legs full body split. That's another option, but for today's purpose, this is what I would recommend that you do. Now, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. If you want to contact me directly, you can reach me on Instagram. Right? You can email me at shannon@shannonvillasfitness.com. Just know that there is currently, at the time of making this video, there is 4 weeks of free coaching link below, which is going to include the specific program that I have included in this video, right? So you can literally get started today. If you download that, put in your email, I'll send it directly through you. I'll walk you through it step by step. And this is how I work with online clients. So this will get you a really good jump start. The reason I'm doing this for free is multiple reasons. Number one, I want you to be successful. The more people I help, the more people help me get more clients. I get to stay in business. If I can get you fantastic results in 4 weeks, just imagine how good the results are going to be if you had a personalized program 100% tailored just to you, right? A lot of people get great results with just the 4 weeks. Second to that, even if you didn't join my coaching program, which is what I do for a living, even if you got incredible results in the next 4 to 8 weeks and everyone's like, Jason, Tom, Aaron, whatever your name is, damn, you are looking good. What did you do? Go to Shannon's page. Go speak to Shannon. Have a look at Shannon's stuff. Eventually, I'll have more clients, right? It's a win-win for everyone, all right? If you follow this, I promise you will get great results. If you feel like you need the extra hand, reach out to me. This is what I do for a living. If I have spaces available, I'll let you know. If I don't, there'll be a wait list. But please join. It's completely free. Literally, you have nothing to lose except you can start making progress today, right? It really is as simple as that. And that is all, guys. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.